All right, y'all, let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another installment, another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. As always, I'm Bradley Clark. So thrilled, honored, and blessed that you decided to join us today. And I have an amazing guest. Recruiters, tune in, honestly. And if you've been represented by a recruiter, you need to tune in. I am telling you, I have got an amazing guest. I've been, you know what, she doesn't know this, but I have been calling her like the Batwoman of recruiting because she definitely is the hero that we need at the moment. I am telling you right now, we're going to get into all that. Her tagline, which I love, is I build the teams that build the satellites. She's a recruiting truth teller and myth buster. And somehow she's been a LinkedIn top voice. This is her words. Somehow a LinkedIn top voice since 2022. Her TLDR, and anybody that knows me knows that I have sort of a propensity for verbosity. We're just gonna go with that. But I love this. After 20 years in the recruiting industry, hunting everything from truck drivers to CFOs, she is currently at Amazon on Project Kuiper. And she spent the last several years in big tech at Microsoft and Google. And after many years in various agencies, learning how real recruiting is done, she's passionate about client and candidate experience. Imagine that. Imagine that you want things to work out for everyone. I mean, wow. I mean, oh God, we are going to get into so much. She is flattered by, let me tell you, look, screw it. Here's the deal. I found her on LinkedIn and I was so, I mean, she's got it and she's not afraid to say it. And in a time where people are starving for authenticity, my guest, Amy Miller, provides it. And everybody, please make welcome Amy Miller. Amy.
Hello. You're going to be like my hype man from here on out. Like you just got a side hustle as Amy's hype man.
Thank God. I tell you, I don't know if here's the deal. If your ears are burning, I'm going to take the opportunity to say it's me.
All right, I love it.
Because I have used your example. And as a matter of fact, Eric O'Rourke and I, we were talking to a little bit today or last couple of days about you coming on. And I found you on LinkedIn, or you came up on my feed one time, and I was having this conversation with someone, and maybe that's why the algo was listening.
Yeah. Skynet's always watching.
You know what I mean? Skynet's always watching. And I was like, I'm just getting so sick of mediocrity being, celebrated. People with lofty titles making a very good living. I mean, I'd say 200,000, $250,000 a year is a very good living.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
Doing nothing. And I mean nothing. And you had a post out there, and I don't remember the exactly what you said, but you have that talent for verbosity yourself.
I do.
Okay. And I get slammed for it all the time, but the TLDR. Oh, we'll get into that too. I got slammed for the too long, didn't read a lot. And, but anyway, I always read them. I read the whole thing because there's nuggets in there, and I typically want to tell the whole story, a lot like I'm doing now.
Context is everything.
yes, context is everything.
Mhm.
But you had this post about prepping candidates,
Yeah.
and there was actually someone in the comments that celebrated her inability, I believe,
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe her lack of training,
Yeah.
maybe whatever. And she justified it by saying that she wants her hiring manager to get an authentic view of the
Oh,
candidate. Do you remember
bless.
that?
Bless. I vaguely, yes, I do, and I find that
Oh,
interesting. So let me ask you this, Bradley, do I appear on your screen as the authentic Amy Miller?
you do.
Okay, because my eyebrows do not look like this in real life, okay? I had to paint those puppies on, okay? So
Hold on.
I
Hold
had
on. We'll let's see.
get
They're
real close there,
fantastic.
right? I work really hard on them. So,
They're
but here's
fantastic.
my
See,
point.
I don't know if we
I
should we go with
leverage
this
a little.
view? I don't know.
Hey, why not?
Maybe,
We'll just
maybe.
ooh, we
Uh,
really have to lean forward for emphasis.
what?
But I think the bigger picture is we want to present ourselves
Yeah.
like this is my face, okay? This is what I look like. But you think I don't lean on my friends at Ulta for a little extra color, little extra support, right? That does not mean you're not authentically seeing Amy Miller's face. You're seeing it with little like preparation and a little moisturizer. And there's nothing wrong with that. So for
Yeah.
us to not understand the value of interview prep and to really take the opportunity, like you are going to have to answer truthfully and you're going to have to present yourself, but you're going to present yourself with, dare I say, the best foundation. Hmm? Like it just makes no sense to me. Like I'm not going to walk into any situation that I'm not prepared for. I'm just not.
Well, here's the thing. So Eric and I were talking about this. He's one of the best recruiters I've ever seen, and
Nice.
he just happens to be one of my best friends. And when I say that, I'm including me because I was pretty good at this business,
Yeah.
and I mean I was really good, but I was good at it in the sense that I come from entertainment, and I've been
Yeah.
represented by the best, and I've had good agents, I've bad agents, I've had
Mhm,
good
mhm.
managers and bad managers.
Yeah.
And so I came at it from a very authentic place. Bottom line is, if I couldn't represent you for whatever reason, I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Further, I didn't flood the hiring manager with, resumes for the sake of
Right.
flooding them.
Right.
There was
Agree.
and so Eric and I were talking about it, and what was funny is he got an email from, and it was to everybody. It was either an email or they were having a conference call. Either way, it was in front of everyone that he works with. And
Yeah.
he said, thank you for prepping the candidate. And here's the thing, Eric, Eric takes stupid notes. Like the guy is just so detailed,
Got
way
to.
more than I ever was.
Love that.
And he passed on his notes to his candidate.
Oh, interesting.
So when the candidate interviewed with the hiring manager loved it because he was able to speak to this candidate in a way that it was an educated conversation. It
100%. Yeah,
was a prepped conversation.
absolutely.
And I just, I've been almost stalking you to get you on the show at this point. I found your
You
Instagram.
had it
I
a
think I
little.
said that in a message. I said, at this point, I'm stalking you. At this point,
And I
you
was
know,
flattered.
well, I'm like, you got to come on the show. And I've said this in the past. I've
Mhm.
said this on 2 shows today. We live in a society where people are so thirsty. They're hungering
Yeah,
for authenticity
yeah.
that they'll take a half truth, and it's like a drop of water in the desert,
It's true.
not understanding that it's a whole lie.
It's
And
true.
I don't, these recruiters these days, I don't know if it's a lack of training. Well, I'll put it this way. There's always the ones and always the firms that
Mhm.
rise to the top,
Sure.
and you'll see it. But
Yep.
more often than not, and I always loved the reputation that we had in the business because
Yeah.
it made me stand out,
Hey, world's okayest for a reason, you know?
right? Hey, I you know, uh, go for it. Be terrible.
Yep.
That's going to make that's going to make me more money,
I love the
and it's going to
comparison.
make and it's going to make me it's going to add more credibility to me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you are unabashed about saying these things,
Yeah.
and it's so needed. It is so needed. This business,
I hope so.
you're Batwoman, because
I love
you
that.
know, we may not hey, you may not be the hero that we want. I think you're very
You get
wanted,
me.
but right, but you are the hero we deserve.
Thank you.
And I am telling you, your voice is so valuable.
I
It's so
appreciate
incredible. And for all of the people getting into this business, I'm sorry, take a note.
that.
And
Yeah.
if you think mediocrity is okay, take a seat and let
Yes.
the adults in the room,
I love
you
that.
know? So
I love it.
thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
everything
you
you
for
do.
having me, and thank you for appreciate. I don't know if I've done it long enough to find myself the villain yet. That may be coming. I don't know, in some people's minds, no doubt, but that's okay. But I look at it this way, Bradley. I think that people are hungry, right? There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. People are hungry for clarity and transparency and understanding and information. And we all want to just understand, like, what do you people want? What do recruiters and hiring managers want? But here's what happens, unfortunately, when we're starving, we'll eat anything.
Mm.
And a lot of creators are churning out a lot of cotton candy content.
Yes.
And if you've ever snacked on cotton candy, you know, well, it tastes good in the moment, the first couple of bites, but it's really basically nothing. By the time it hits your tongue, it disappears. There's nothing there. It is not the vitamin infused broccoli that Amy Miller's serving up. But a lot of people
Mhm.
don't like broccoli. And so that's the pushback, like, oh, this doesn't taste good. Even though it's what you desperately need, there are unfortunately people out there who think, well, this doesn't taste good. I don't want it. I'm going to go back to the cotton candy. And then they wonder why, they're anemic or something, whatever.
Why are they
Falls in
terrible?
my
I
heart.
mean, why aren't you making money in this business? Why is your reputation not where it? I mean, I never thought in a million years. Like when I first started in this business,
Yeah.
I started at the biggest firm on the planet to
Mm,
this day.
mhm.
And I got a whole bunch of crap from a lot of people in the business. They
Yeah.
call this McPlacement. And I'm like, I don't get it, you know? And so, but the things that I learned there,
Mhm.
I've taken everywhere.
Absolutely.
Now, there were things that I did differently. I
Mhm.
did spend an hour or however long it
Yeah.
took with my candidate to get to know him.
Sure.
I did make friends with my candidates that I've maintained to this day. My clients as well. I mean, I worked a full, you know who I'm talking about, and I worked a full desk in in a division that was a subdivision of the main division.
Yeah.
So back then it was consulting, like we were consulting,
Mhm.
right? Everybody was a consulting back
Everybody.
then. And then I went to search
Yeah.
and I got thrown to the lions. But that's the way I've
Yeah.
lived my life actually. I mean, but I all I did was bring the kind of things that worked for me, and
Mhm.
I saw work for me from people
Absolutely.
that represented me when I
Mhm.
was performing. And I just didn't understand, like, why. Well, you got to be out of there in 20 minutes, and you got to. How can I learn anything about
Mhm.
anyone in 20 minutes?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then if I'm with a client, here's how I made money there when it was just me. We had 7 lines of business. So I told the other recruiters, because they were in a churn and burn model for a while
Mhm.
on the
Oh, yeah.
contract side. Remember those?
Oh, very
And
well.
and so and so I told them, I said, listen, these people don't care how the money's delineated. They
Sure.
just care that the money comes in. So I'll
Absolutely.
tell you what, I will give you 25% because you can only break it up into 25% back
Mhm.
then. I said, I'll give you 25% of every deal I place until the Lord comes back.
Alright.
If you let me go to a client visit and I get some job orders out of them, whatever.
Yeah.
And guess what? I killed. I mean,
Oh,
I
no doubt.
killed it.
No
It
doubt.
was, you know what I'm saying?
I
But
do.
even that, is something that people don't grasp. And they, and in this meme culture of know your
Mhm.
worth, I think we're knowing too much of our, how do I say this? I think too many people have a false idea of what their
Yeah.
worth actually is. And if they're not showing it, it's one hand clapping.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting thought. And, I'm all about people getting what they can get, right? I'm all about like
Yeah. Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's negotiation or however you want to dress it up, I don't care. But I think how is worth determined? Right? You had something valuable to add to your contract team. You were like, "Hey, let me
Right.
tag along with you. Let me build some additional lines of business here. I can make it worth your while." And I think that's brilliant. But you showed them. You showed up, you
Right.
did the work, you joined the calls. There's a lot of
Right.
people out here that are sitting back and waiting, expecting for something worthwhile to be dropped in their lap. So you took a proactive approach, and I think therein lies the difference.
Do you think that well, okay, and this is what I've learned too. And I did some
Mhm.
contract work for some pretty big companies in California, but
Yeah.
I my last stint in recruiting was working for a company, a TA.
Mhm.
And or what do they call us? I was a specialist. I don't know what it was. It was
Yeah, and they
specialist,
have all
whatever
kinds
it
of
was.
funny titles for us these days.
And yeah, and really what my hmm, let me put it this way. I worked on Saturdays.
Mhm.
I never wanted to rely on an agency to get
Yeah.
my job done.
Yeah.
But TA is kind of set up to gather,
Sometimes,
right?
yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like you're at Amazon
Yeah.
and you're looking around, and I'm sure that your team isn't like this, but a lot of TAs, they're just gatherers.
Sure.
They're
Yep.
not hunters because they've
Yep.
never been taught how to hunt.
Hi, Google.
And and
Are we not supposed to go there? Okay,
we
carry
can
on.
go there. Absolutely go there. But I mean, do you think that has played some, like, kind of into it a little bit,
Yeah.
where TAs are going to agencies and vice versa? Is that, or what has happened to our industry?
Oh man, I think I mean, I got into it in the 90s. Like there was no internet, right? Like
Right.
we had one computer in the staffing office I started in, and it was like connected to like a
Ooh.
corporate intranet so we could like upload payroll. But we had to hunt, and we had to go hunt with like rocks and spears. We didn't even have like
Did
infrared
you
search
did
devices.
did you happen to work for a company that rhymes with GE?
No.
Oh,
I don't think
there's a
so.
company that I'm now, truth be told, my very first job
Oh, yeah.
was with a company that their initials are GE.
Dang.
I'll leave it that way. And
Okay, we'll have to
we got one computer in the office, San Francisco. Everybody used it, and I was testing it out, and I sent a message to my girlfriend,
Oh, no.
and then they printed it out and they put it on the wall. Just
Well, let
saying.
that be a
Satin
lesson to you,
quads.
Bradley.
Oh, it was a big lesson. You know, I'm like, that sounds
Oh my
eerily
goodness.
familiar. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't
No,
mean to cut
no,
you off.
it was
Verbosity.
ATD actually was the
Okay.
acronym for my agency, but no, we have had to hunt, and I think what has unfortunately happened on the corporate side. Now, my team notwithstanding, because we're very special and separate from a lot of being a little bit of a startup within a large company.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of what happened, and especially in the last decade or so, when recruiters, we couldn't hire them fast enough, right? We
Right.
created a bunch of recruiters. We plucked people out of different jobs and different industries, and we put them through a recruiter boot camp and made them recruiters, and then wonder why they're failing, and wonder why so
Mm.
many are unemployed, and wonder why so many can't land work in this market. And I don't think that is the fault of that new recruiter. I think leadership in TA, the old timers, the those who have the wisdom that only comes with experience, have perhaps in some ways failed them because we could not hire recruiters fast enough, and we didn't bother to like slow down. And I mean, in general, we didn't bother to like slow down and really teach the foundational stuff. It was, hey, you're a recruiter now. Here's a database full of people, and just go message them and just go, see if you can get anybody to talk to us. And we did not bother with like the nuances of quality over quantity. We didn't bother with the nuances of like really understanding what is the problem we're trying to solve here through talent, right? Because if I'm not, this is, and I try so hard not to say intake meeting because
Yeah, I'm telling
my
you, it's the
mentor
same
Carmen was
company.
like, don't use that word. But that initial conversation with the hiring manager, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us go in like, hey, I'm here to bring you a bunch of resumes. What are the keywords you want to see? And that makes me want to jump off a bridge every time, because the conversation should be, I'm here to partner with you on filling your role, building your team, plugging a gap, whatever it is. Let's talk about what you do. Help me understand that at a 6th grade level, because I am just a recruiter after all. And then once I understand that, let's talk about what that looks like in a prospective candidate that you're willing to devote time to getting on the phone with. And so by understanding those foundational parts of it, both on the manager side as well as on just the candidate outreach, like getting prospect side, has been lost. And I remember my first agency gigs, I was handed a stack of applications probably that big and told to start dialing.
That's
Well,
right.
what am I saying to them? I'll just call and see if they want a job. Okay. Hi.
Right.
Do you want a job? No, sorry. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so it took like me asking a lot of questions and like begging my boss to mentor me and help me understand, and studying human psychology, all of it, to figure out how to do this right. So there's one thing, if I win the lottery tomorrow, Bradley, I'm opening a recruiter school. When I don't need to be paid to pay my mortgage, I'm going to open a recruiter school, and I'm going to help people navigate this, because this is the one thing that we do not get right way too often.
I think with your show, because you have a YouTube channel,
I do.
And I think with the posts that you put on LinkedIn, you're already doing it. And that's well, that was one of the functions when I started Work Your Career Wednesday. I wanted to be able to be at least a resource. And now what I'm finding is I just, wow. Cause I'm with you, you know what I mean? It's like, if, I think one of the things that we're doing on our end is we're going to begin offering, to come into HR teams and recruiting teams, and speaking to them and giving them sort of the fundamentals. And it's amazing. It's amazing how that is like, that's something that's like, it's like, really, you're going to pay me to come in and teach your teams the basics.
Yeah.
And what I think is so wonderful about what you're doing on LinkedIn, oh my gosh. And I'm telling you, I'm putting together teams of people to come in with me. Yes. So we're going to talk about that. And this is all happening on air. So I'm telling you, we're doing this. We're going to be talking
I'm
about
like
this.
BA, right? If we're the A team, like you're Hannibal and I'm BA, right? Totally. Have to be.
Yeah. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, absolutely. I think that look, I've had several, been in several tour buses. I would love to have one. Oh, God help me. This is so good. I want one that looks like the van.
Yes.
And we can call it the recruiting A team. Because I'm telling you that, the other person that I'm getting to do this with me is Carla Ty. She built the HR and Ops divisions at the Oakland and Las Vegas Raiders. She was there for 18 years.
Amazing.
You. Awesome. Okay, great. We'll talk about what that looks like later. But I'm telling you, it's one of these things where I'm so tired of this business. It's almost like getting your MBA. That's a great thing. But if you're not going to teach the nuances of business, the things that aren't in a book, or maybe aren't in the books you're supposed to be reading, good luck. that's very good. I mean, so, what was it in your history that, well, first of all, why did you get into recruiting in the first place? I mean, that's,
Yeah, I was
I
told I'd
have
make
my own reasons. And well, but why did you get into it in the first place? And then
Yeah.
why did what had recruiting become like,
Mhm.
for one, I can do this and
Yeah.
I can do it better than anybody else.
Or at least as good as. So, okay, I'm gonna really date myself here.
There's no room. There's no room
Yeah.
for humility here with you,
Okay.
Amy. I think you are one of the best I have
Thank
ever
you.
seen, based on what I've seen, based on the fact that you do not go away from the basics.
No,
If you don't
no.
leave the basics, you never have to go back to
Yep,
them. Now, I just
exactly.
love that. I'm
Just
sorry, I
keep it
cut you off.
simple. Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I don't need fancy nonsense and gadgets and who's it's and what's it's. I don't need any of that shit. I just need to like do good work and bring two different people with two different, like goals and must-haves together. So we'll get into that. But let me tell you how I got into it. So I'm going to age myself really good here. So mid 90s, right? And I'm trying to figure out like what I want to be when I grow up. I'm just in my early 20s myself at this time, and kind of did the temp route and learned how to answer phones, be a receptionist, that kind of stuff. And I got a job. I was working through a temp agency. And this is what's funny. I was working through a temp agency. They had actually put me at the front desk of their agency.
Oh,
And so I'm, handing out, chasing people, get back my clipboards and my pens, when they walk out with them, filling their paper
oh yeah.
application, all this. And so I do my little stint there for a couple months as I was covering like a maternity leave or something. And they offered me a job as a staffing consultant. And I
Really?
said, y'all are crazy. I watch staffing consultants walk out of here crying every day. This is the worst job ever on the planet. I will never do it.
Right. Sure. I
So
will never
staffing
do it.
agency's like, well, you're a great temp, so we're going to keep you busy. So they send me over to another staffing agency. Okay. So now I'm working in the advertising department for a little company called Labor Ready, for those that remember.
Oh my
So I
God.
was at Office Team. That's where I was temping, right? Doing my little front
Office Team, amazing.
office
I've never
team.
heard of
I
that
know, right?
before.
Mhm.
I mean, could that be a half company?
Hmm.
Could it be?
So Office Team
Could it
sends me to
be?
Labor Ready. I'm working up in the corporate office, right? I'm doing all of the newspaper advertising for all of the branches all over the US, Puerto Rico, and Europe. And I became friendly. So I'm in Seattle, and I'm
Mhm.
friendly with one of my ad reps from the employment guide. Remember when you could like open up the big machine and pull out the newspaper from, remember those? Used to be
Oh
on every
yeah.
street corner. So we
Oh
advertised
yeah.
a lot in the employment guide. And Steve was his name. I'm on the phone with him. We're negotiating column inches or whatever. He's in San Francisco. And he says, you'd be a great recruiter. And I said, I don't know what that is, but tell me
So
more.
this is okay. Now, forgive me. This is Office Team.
So I'm at Labor Ready now through
You're at
Office.
Labor Ready.
Office
Okay, through
Team had
Office
sent me
Team.
to Labor Ready as a temp.
Gosh, man,
There's a whole
Office
story
Team
there
really
too,
missed
by
it.
the way. Office Team really missed
Wow.
the grand
Sorry.
opportunity.
As
I
a
don't know if they
former
would take me
halfer,
back. Yeah,
as a
we've
former
all done our
halfer,
time at
I'm
the half.
a little embarrassed.
We've all done our time at the half in some way, form, or fashion.
Oh yes, yes.
So he's telling me about this date he went on, and this woman that he was on a date with was complaining she had to go to Seattle and find yet another recruiter because they couldn't manage to keep recruiters for this staffing agency or whatever. And he's like, you'd be a great recruiter. I'm like, I have no idea what that is, but I'm making crap money here. Does it pay better? And he's like, yes, it does. So he
Yes, it does.
introduced me. So I was my first ever close. Okay. I interviewed, her name was Kelly, the woman who came up to Seattle to hire a replacement for the recruiter that they let go. And I, was very transparent. I'm like, I want to give a proper notice. Like, I don't want to burn bridges, whatever. At that point, I'd been full-time at Labor Ready. That's a whole nother story we'll have to get into if we have time. How
Oh
I
yeah,
got
we
full-time
definitely have
at Labor
time.
Ready.
We have all
So
the time you want.
excellent. So she says, Amy, I really like you. The manager liked you, but I need someone that can start right away. And I said, okay, I understand. So I called her about every 4 days for 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, she says, I appreciate you following up, and we are keeping your, resume on file or whatever, but I just need somebody to start right away. I said, Kelly, if you'd made me an offer 2 weeks ago, I'd be starting on Monday. She said, go tell your boss you're quitting. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Is that how it went?
That's exactly how it went. That persistence pays off.
ABC, baby.
Let me tell you how I got into Labor Ready full time. This is a good one, and I cried. I thought I'd really just destroyed my career before it started. So they had sent me, to temp, right? Because I'm an office team employee. I'm temping. I'm making my little, $8 an hour or whatever it was in the 90s, and I'm in the tax department. So here's networking 101, boys and girls. Write this down.
There you go.
I'm working in the tax department, right? And I'm like reconciling invoices or something. And so part of that was going through just these massive boxes of like Iron Mountain boxes that were going to be taken away to be shredded. And I'm going through and I'm looking up invoices and reconciling them with whatever. And this man walks by to the reception desk because all these boxes are piled up in the hallway outside of reception. And he's saying goodbye to somebody, and he stops and talks to the receptionist. He's like, I don't think I'm ever going to fill this role. Like, I've been searching for a long time, and none of the candidates are hitting the mark, blah, 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 blah. All I heard is this man's hiring. I don't know what for. I don't know what anything.
Right.
So I'm standing
Something is happening here.
Digging through these boxes, and he starts walking by me, and I'm looking at the corner of my eye. Bradley, this is no shit. I jumped off of my step stool, landed in front of this man, stuck my hand out and said, hi, my name is Amy, and I heard that you're hiring. I'd love to talk with you more about what you're looking for.
Yes, I love it.
And he says, great, why don't you send me your resume? I said, okay, wonderful. Go home, type up a resume. I've got the fancy resume paper and I'll hand it to him. Yeah. Bradley, this man was looking for a sales manager. I was a professional temp.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's like, okay,
that's awesome. You have got to love the moxie. I mean, what would have been great is if you'd have done that and then said, hold on, here's my resume.
That would have been brilliant. But he's like, look, Amy, full transparency. He goes, we didn't talk about this. It's not your fault, but I'm looking for like an actual qualified person who knows his job. But he liked my chutzpah. That was his words. He said, I like your chutzpah. I'm going to introduce you to Tammy. And Tammy was the marketing director who gave me the job in advertising that allowed me to meet Steve and get into recruiting. So there you go. Networking and closing 101.
You have to be able to seize the moment.
You have to.
Right?
You have to.
And
I took a chance.
And I mean, and that's the other thing. There's no chance taking anymore.
Yeah.
There's no, I don't even know, like, what does Moxie look like these days?
I tell you.
That doesn't have, like the gray that I have in my beard anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's like.
Well, and there's taking chances, right? And this is where I think a lot of job seekers get misled. And that is what grinds my gears. You know me, I am like the advocate, right? Like if I was a superhero, if I was like Liam Neeson was going to play me in a movie, he'd be running around with an AK and he'd be the advocate, right? But
that's right.
It makes me crazy that there are cotton candy content creators who are telling you, just go shoot your shot. Now, let's talk about what that doesn't look like. If Jose, the gentleman I jumped in front of and scared a little bit, if he had posted a role and I said, oh, hi, Jose, I'm a fit for this job that I'm not at all a fit for, would you consider me? That would have been a complete screw up on my part. But just coming from a place of, I heard you're hiring. I have no idea if I'd be a fit, but I've been here as a temp for a little bit. I'd really like an opportunity to stay. Can we talk? That is a shot worth taking. I didn't convince him or try to convince him to hire me to do something I wasn't qualified to do. I simply shared my excitement and interest in what the organization all up had to offer, that I would love to be considered for something that made sense. And he helped me make that happen. That is the kind of shots you should be taking.
That's the shot you shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Yep.
Like I couldn't have put it. I have not been able to put it better. That's 1,000% accurate. It's so funny to me. Here's the other thing too that I think is getting lost. So, well, okay, I'm going to tell you this story.
Yeah.
This just happened. This just happened last week.
All right.
Well, when we're filming this just happened last week. And I went to so a friend of mine reached out to me, a CEO, very impressive firm, and he reached out about me possibly having another. There was a role that he was hiring for that he reached out to me about, and I said, "Well, I'm not interested, but because it's you, I'll take the call." And really, my show's going 100%. Great.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in working for anybody, and so he. In fact, I turned down an offer.
Yeah.
Because of this. I'm good. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I said, but I'll take your call because it's you. And I really respect what you've done. And I really do. Really, what he's built is amazing. And, so the more we talked, he said, well, maybe, it'd be a good fit for a marketing director. And I said, well, now that's interesting. I've never been a marketing director, but
what is it hard?
I've certainly marketed.
Right.
And so I'm the strengths that I have, I was trying to display, but all through that, I'm like, I'm looking up, well, so I've recruited Tableau people, but I don't know, how would that fit in this, and all the different marketing software and the different things that we use for this show.
Yeah.
But so I get to the meeting. Long story short, I get to the meeting. By the way, I had 8 subscribers by the time I entered the building.
Yeah, I know.
Right? I mean, I shook every hand I could.
I love it.
And because I'm leaving here with something.
Heck yeah.
But I get there in the meeting and we're talking, and I'm talking too much. I'm so nervous.
As we do.
As we do. I'm sitting at a long conference table. I'm at the end of it. They're on the sides of it. But he asked me 2 things that I've never been asked in my entire professional life. And then it ended up being that. So I'm not going to go for the marketing director job. Okay. But we're talking about something that plays to my strengths, and I can't get into it too much, but this is the 2 things that these are the 2 things really, really cool. The 2 things that he asked me were this: what do you want to do? And it's never asked in the context of what do you want to do. It's what do you want to do for us?
Yeah.
Or trying to fish on whatever you're going to do whatever you're going to do to use this to do, then leave when it happens. Right. And then he said, what are you the best at? Like, what are you the absolute GOAT in?
Ooh.
And it threw me for such a loop. And I got to tell you, it took me like I've thought about that since. I haven't written back the team a thank you note because I've been thinking about it. Yeah. And I've spoken about this on every show I've been on, and the ones and like we're doing since then. And you know what? It's funny. It's like it threw me for such a loop. It was to choose amazing questions that I don't think that nobody's ever cared to ask me. They don't care what
I don't think I've ever been asked that.
Right?
Missed opportunity. And that you hit on something so important though, Bradley, and this is what I want job seekers to potentially take away, and recruiters also, like, be mindful of this. There's what you can do, and maybe what you're great at, maybe what you're the GOAT at, and there's what you can get paid for. Now, if you can make those 2 things like line up in like a nice little Venn diagram, then you are winning. But
and I got to tell you, in my case, we'll see what happens, but it's something that plays absolutely to my strengths that, in my opinion, has got to be nothing but a God thing. And that's on me.
I love that.
But what I and I love what you said. There's something that you're good at. There's something that, and then there's something you can get paid for.
Yeah.
And it's like the shooting your shot. It comes from a place of, and I really think this is true, this meme sort of culture we're
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
and then not, whatever you're good at,
Mm-hmm.
fitting that into something that you can get paid for.
Right.
You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
For
You and I
recruiters,
are good at talking. How do we
yes,
get paid for that, right? How do you capture that in a way? So exchanging information, gathering data, using that data to make decisions. How do you turn that into a career? But here's
there
the
you
thing
go.
with recruiters, we have to equally be good at listening. So how do you merge the two? How do you make sure that you're taking in the inputs from your hiring managers and from your candidates? And how are you then turning that into actionable data points, feedback, instructions, whatever? That's where the
Right.
magic happens.
Do you think recruiters, especially now, and the reason I asked this, let me set this up, context matters. There were, so we're doing this show,
Yeah.
Work Your Career Extra,
Yeah.
where we take recruiting hell posts and we comment on them, which
Oh
I need to
no.
book you for that too.
I
Oh,
would
it's
love that.
hilarious.
I would love
Oh,
that.
it's so funny. And
Oh my
but there was one throughout, and she says, "Oh, my hiring manager drug his feet, and we lost this
God. Hmm.
candidate." And
Hmm.
so I responded with her, and I said, "Well, you need to set yourself up as a subject matter expert.
Hmm.
You're not a engineering expert,
Sure. Yeah, of
but you're a
course.
hiring expert."
Yes, that part.
So, and she wrote back, and she was like, "Wow, I really needed that." So,
Mhm.
are we? I use we as like
The
in the
industry.
industry.
Yeah.
I was, you know what?
The
I'm not including you
collective.
and me in that.
Minus
Are
that
they,
support.
are they missing the mark when it comes to, when it comes to being a subject matter expert? Are companies missing it for whatever, for the sake of
Mhm.
saving money? Think an
Mhm.
old dog can't learn new tricks or
Mhm.
whatever those tricks are. Are they just missing it because recruiters these days aren't demanding the respect that they used to
Mm.
have? And so now there's just kind of a necessary evil and sort of a just give me resumes,
Ooh.
or what is it, that says, wait a minute, I need, and if you're in this situation,
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
can people take the initiative and say, I'm going to be the hiring expert so
Mhm.
that next time
Mhm.
my opinion will carry weight?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. So this is interesting because this also bleeds into a common misconception about staffing agencies or the
Mm,
divide between agency and corporate recruiting, right? And a lot of people they have lots of opinions, and I won't go into all of them, but some of the highlights, some of the high level opinions are, somebody like me who went to corporate 15 years ago or whatever it's been now. Well, I'm a failed agency recruiter. No, 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 no. I was big biller, top biller most of the time.
mhm,
But a lot of people will believe that, or they fall into this trap of, well, recruiter doesn't get paid unless they deliver. And okay, I've worked contingency too, and I get that. So that's when you get paid upon a successful placement. But you're not paying me for handing you a new hire. You're paying me for the service, start to finish. And
ooh,
that's why I don't do contingent. And if I ever went back to agency, I wouldn't do contingent. You can hire me on a fractional basis, you can hire me on an hourly rate, you can hire me for a retained search. Like, there will be other ways that you can pay me, but you're paying me for my service. And my
mm,
service starts with thoroughly understanding your hiring need and
mhm,
culminates in making and hopefully closing an offer. But that is not what you're paying me for. You're not paying me to deliver a new employee. You're paying me for all of the work and effort and consulting that goes in on both sides to get to that end result. That end result is a result of my effort, which is what you owe me money for. And when recruiters lose sight of that, when they forget how important it is that we are bringing insight and information and influence and suggestions, when we drop those balls, we have harmed the industry all up. And that's what makes me crazy.
We need to mark that at 4451 because that's a clip. Oh my God. I think you've hit it right there.
Drives me nuts. And I love my agency friends, but they drive me nuts with that. Like, y'all got to stop minimizing your efforts.
Well, when I went to my last, I went to that last company, I had 8 offers at the end of it. And I picked them because, once you know who it is, it's like, why wouldn't you? Kind of, like Amazon. Like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's just, that's ridiculous. Even, oh my God. But, I had another recruiter, God bless him, like, and I don't mean him in the Texas bless his heart thing. I mean, really, God bless this guy. This guy is no joke. He stayed on the phone with me for an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to close me. And, that was one of the things. It's like, well, the only people that go into corporate are ones that can't hack it in agency. And I'm like, do you want to see my bill sheet? Like, hold steady.
Yeah.
And that's a really common misconception.
It is.
And, it's like somebody that goes into TA. I will say that it's a different animal.
Oh, for sure. For sure. 100%.
One of them is, and I think, and here's where talent acquisition folks get it wrong. Yes, all marketing is geared toward look at us and look at how great we are. Oh, and by the way, we're always hiring. And whether they admit it or not.
Yep.
Right? Whether they admit that or not is irrelevant.
Exactly.
The fact is, that's where all marketing is.
Yep.
Look at how great we are. Come work for us. But the only thing, if you're not a hunter in TA, then you're really missing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest complaint, especially with big tech. I don't see it so much in my current role because we're doing just some really weird, super niche stuff that just we have just the nature of like the work we're doing and how different it is from the rest of the larger company. But I remember at Google, here's a funny one for you. So Google was my second big tech company. I spent almost 5 years, no, a little over 5 years, 5.5 years at Microsoft. And went over to Google thinking like, oh, this will be a new, like, learn something different. I'm going to focus exclusively on, managers. And it's just going to be like baby exec, kind of back to my agency roots where I was doing like C-suite stuff. And I remember my very first candidate that I was closing. And the sourcer asked me, well, have you talked to so-and-so yet? And I said, yeah, we had a really good conversation. I'm finalizing his offer. Hopefully we'll have an update like later this week or whatever. Right. And she's like, so when's he going to start? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm still working on his offer. We're negotiating. Like, he's got to accept, and then and she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? I don't understand your question.
I don't understand what she was like. What is her question?
She's like, well, of course he's going to accept. And I said, how do you know? She's like, Amy, it's Google. Oh, honey.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Oh, man.
So of course he accepted because I'm an excellent closer, but that's beside the point. But I'll never forget. And she was a very sweet girl. She just didn't know what she didn't know. Right. Because a lot of the, and again, going back to what's wrong with TA, a lot of these recruiters were plucked straight out of college and put into a TA role and not really taught. Didn't have the benefit of the agency hustle that you and I grew up in, things like that. But anyway, she ended up getting promoted. She's now working as like a closer, lead recruiter, whatever we were. I can't remember our title, but anyway. And I passed her in the hallway.
Like, wait a minute. Excuse me. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure she's great.
She's great. She learned over the time.
Yeah.
But I remember she moved into this new role, and she's walking opposite me. We're passing each other in the hallway, and she just looked like shell shocked. And I go,
somebody said no to her.
How are you? Like, yes. She's like, I just had my first offer decline. It happens.
Oh,
that's the beauty of internal TA, I think.
Yeah.
I don't have to, like, yes, of course I want people to say yes to my offers, and I intentionally make good offers, and I don't mess with people's money. That's a whole other conversation we could have. But I'm not going to starve if you turn me down, right? So my
Right.
influence and my desire to close you for the role is because I genuinely believe that you're right for the role, not because I'm
Mhm.
making a commission off of you.
Right.
So, but yeah, she was just so shell shocked that someone had turned her down. I'm like, you do understand that like a nice, like it should be the rare, person that turns us down, but we should expect declines.
Yeah.
Because that teaches us two things. First of all, it keeps us humble. Like, oh, wow, is my offer really that good? And is our opportunity really that good? And do we need to do something to improve on our side?
Mhm.
And also, are we talking to the right people? There was a time, I mean, years, where I would not make an offer to anyone. And this was not intentional. It's just how it happened to flesh out. But every offer I made, that engineer had minimum 2 other offers.
Mhm.
Someone's gonna lose.
Right. Right.
10% of the time, it's probably me, and that's okay. But it's one of those things, like, we have to be making the right offers to the right people at the right scale and the right, just and you're gonna
But
lose
e
sometimes, and that's okay.
but even about it when it comes to money, I mean,
Mhm.
one of the things that, when I was at my former company then and we started doing these videos and, I'm like, what are the 3 things that matter to a candidate? It's
Yeah.
where am I gonna go?
Yep.
Who am I gonna work for?
Yes.
And who am I gonna report or who am I working with and who am I gonna report to?
Yes.
Those are the 3.
Yeah.
Money's later,
Mhm.
right? Money's later. But those are the 3 major things.
Yeah.
And especially if you're competing against, people that are your clients,
Yeah.
that can be a problem. But what's interesting is I don't think and here's I want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
So back in the day, a friend of mine, um, she was doing accounting on T2,
Mhm.
Terminator movie, and she worked for
Yeah.
ILM. She was working for ILM, and ILM's notorious, and you know this. They don't pay anything.
Yeah.
Like they're notorious for that because they're ILM.
Yeah. We got the street cred. You should want to work here.
And if you don't, there's a billion other people that do.
Exactly.
And are we in that time where we're so we're so sort of like I don't know how do I say it?
Full of ourselves.
Uh, no, adherent to what people tell us.
Oh,
You see what I'm
okay.
saying?
I
Like
see where
like
you're going
are
with
we?
this.
You know what I mean? Like are we so? Well, I mean, of course you'd want to work at ILM.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I did when I was a kid,
Sure.
but I
Sure.
saw a different side of ILM,
Yeah.
to be fair. And that's another story, but and which is great. They're a wonderful company. And I saw
Mhm.
when I was a kid, I got a chance to really experience
Yeah.
ILM. But uh, uh, I mean, I'm sorry, I have to be starting out to think that was really awesome. You know what I mean? Like it'd have to
I
just be
do.
starting in my career to
This
take
is
nothing because I can
yeah.
put ILM on my resume.
This
Are
is
we at a
why TA is so important.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And because it is probably not unusual or even unexpected, and I would even say it's probably not unfair for hiring managers to believe that, right? Because they've been with the organization a long time, maybe, and they've seen lots of great growth and love their job and love the 3, right? My hiring managers love the people they work with, love the people they work for, love the work that they're doing.
Sure.
Brilliant, right? And they're well compensated because I made most of their offers, so I know that they make good money. But, it's easy for us on the inside, so to speak, to kind of fall into that. We're sipping the Kool-Aid pretty regularly and like, yeah, this place is great. And of course, and who wouldn't want to be here? TA is able to bring that outside perspective.
Yes.
Like,
Well,
you
they
live
should
here.
be.
Yeah, well, they should be, right? And it's
They
like,
should
okay,
be.
you live here and the furniture's really comfy and the snacks are like top shelf and that's great.
Right.
But let me tell you what the market thinks. Let me tell
They
you
don't know.
about Exactly, they don't know. And so TA really has a responsibility to bring that data to the hiring authorities, whether that's your immediate line manager, whether that's, the VP. And here's the other thing where a lot of TA folks make a mistake. You need to develop those relationships and partnerships as high up the food chain as you can. That is critical. Because when you want to make recommendations or you want to drive change or you want to institute new tools or technologies or processes or procedures, that junior manager is not the one to do it. You got to have the ear of the VP, right? Like that is so, so, so important. And so that's again where TA, going back to your earlier point, we have to be the experts in our field. And if we are not, then we are reduced to transactional paper pushers. And those are the people that unfortunately are going to find themselves left behind, because that can be replaced by AI. That's a whole other thing, right? Everybody thinks we're all going to be replaced by robots or whatever. No, we're not. But
we're really not.
The paper pushers, maybe.
And I got to tell you, that's so great. And we're going to come back to that. I will tell you right now, the place where you will find amazing places to work, or it will be the place. Well, places is Jane's Physical Therapy. They are home care physical therapy experts, and they are hiring in the New Orleans area, 4 to 8 still, and we still have people to go. So if you want to work and better, in an amazing environment, by helping yourself while you're helping other people, get in contact with us. Go to www.janespt. That's JAY. I am so excited with this. I'm messing up the ads because I'm so thrilled with this conversation. We go to www.janespt.com or go to LinkedIn and search. Just put in Jane's Physical Therapy, and then look for me. I'm probably going to talk to you anyway. My picture looks like a Remax agent, so there's that. There's that. Or give us a call at 713-364-8777. And while we're at it, while we're on the subject, if you have anything that you wish to record, and I'm talking anything having to do with video, podcast, music videos, you name it, go to www.whitehuskyfilms.com. The only thing you have to do is you have to dream, you have to create, and you have to record in that order. Ooh. When you choose White Husky, I am telling you, you will be so glad you did. They billboards on Times Square, podcasts, you name it. White Husky Films can help bring your dreams to reality. Let's get it right in the middle, and we're out.
I like it.
And you know what? All right. So Klein's Jewelry. If you're in the celebrating house, getting a house, or in the doghouse, make sure you go to kleinsjewelry.com. I am telling you, they got a brand new store at 9311 Katy Freeway in Headwood Village. Give Mark Klein a call at 832-316-1388. They are Houston legends. Mark Klein is an amazing guy too.
Nice.
He really is. I love these guys. I really do love that.
Do they ship to Seattle? I might have to slide a number under my husband's.
They do ship to Seattle. Oh. They absolutely do. So, you can get an idea. If you go to Klein's, I'm telling you, go to kleinsjewelry.com. I can't believe it's not on the ticker, but you go to kleinsjewelry.com. But yes, they do ship to Seattle. They ship everywhere in the United States. Or give them a call again, 832-316-1388 or 281-381-9848. I just had to do all three at the same time because I am loving this conversation. And I'm like, I just don't want to segue into any more. I got to tell you, see, these kinds of things are the things that, for one, I think hiring managers too have a skewed
absolutely
opinion of what TA is.
Yeah.
Some of the hiring managers, particularly if smaller company, the ones that dreamt up the idea or lead the people that are executing the idea, they're of the opinion that everybody should be knocking down their door. And I think in some ways, particularly when you're getting these people out of college and they don't have the experience and nobody's there to teach them, nobody's going to go up to their desk, put with a big phone book, slam it on the desk of the quad you're sitting in and say, go get me job orders.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen anymore. And
Yeah.
so, you know, with these sort of skewed ideas, and then it's just, I think there has to be, and you do a great job of it, and you're doing an amazing job of it here, bringing us back to center.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You got to get the
Right?
basics right. You got to get the basics right. And something I've thought about a lot every time we have these conversations, every time we talk to, you know, candidates or hiring managers about their pain points and what they want to fix and what they want to improve on or what they don't like. It comes down to, because I'm always trying to find the common denominator. I want to reduce it to the most simplest Occam's razor explanation. What is wrong? What do we need to fix? What is happening? What's your beef? Communication and transparency. That's it.
Yes.
If we get that right, everything else falls into place. And so from the candidate perspective, you know, by providing regular updates, by leading with, you know, the right job descriptions and data and include the salary and all that, whatever, even transparency about how recruiting happens. And that's how my channel was born, was because I recognize, like, no one talks about this. Or very few people do, or they're just not talking enough, or what, I don't know. But I don't want to say no one does, because people be like, no one talked about that. And I'm like, hello, I'm right here. I've been saying it for 5 years. But anyway, I want to be careful not to say that, because I don't like it when I hear it too. Because damn it, I said it. But everything really revolves around transparency and communication. And if we get that right, the rest of it really, honestly, I know I'm repeating myself, but the rest of it really does fall into place. And so that is authentic transparency with hiring teams. Oh, okay. So that job description you wrote, that's actually 3 people. Okay. And here's how I know that. Labor market data, right? Insights, resumes, profiles, whatever, insights, talent mapping, blah, 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 all the things. From a candidate perspective, I can only work with what you give me. So if you give me a resume that does not say any of these things, then I don't know any of those things about you, right? And so just injecting that clarity into the conversations is so important. But the problem is, a lot of it tastes like broccoli, Bradley. They don't want broccoli. They want cotton candy. They want bots. They want ATS hacks. They want white font tricks. They want all the things that you and I know actually damage their chances. But if more of us start standing up and raising their hand and confirming and clarifying, that's when we're going to see real change. And I think that's also how we're going to motivate the next generation of recruiters. If we can show them, look, this foundational stuff, the tools, the AIs, the whatevers, it's fun. Okay. And I've been distracted by shiny stuff as well. Okay. I fall into that trap once in a while too, but you gotta like almost put a timer on it and be like, okay, I'm done playing with that now. Now I'm getting back to the foundation. Now I'm getting back to picking up the phone. Now I'm getting back to deep diving and understanding and focusing on quality.
Well, and when you got to know the foundation, you got to know, see, all the things that you mentioned are great tools. But let's say you get a whole, like a tool cabinet of tools.
Fanciest garage you've ever seen.
Fanciest garage you've ever seen. We're talking about car tools. Okay. We're talking but and you look over at your car and you look over at these tools, and the only thing you know how to do is drive the car. You're going to look at those tools and not know what to do with the tools and expect the tools to fix the car.
Not how it works.
That's not how it works, you know? And so I love what you're saying. The basics have to be taught in order to be able to understand how to use those tools.
Yes. What do you want to accomplish with that tool? This is always I get hit up by so many founders, and the hot new, solution, and we're gonna.
Yeah.
And I love the ones that lead with like, "Hi, I'm building this tool to like absolutely destroy your industry and take your job." Oh well, let me give you
Good
some
luck with
feedback.
that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, that's an opener. But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, I get hit up all the time. Founders and the tech fellas that want to build the next cool thing, and every time I'm like, this is not my problem.
Mm-mm.
You're trying to solve something that I don't need solved. If you
What's
really want to help recruiters,
they don't.
here's some ideas. And they're like, oh, no, that's not. Mm-mm.
No. They don't want to help recruiters. What they want to do is eliminate recruiters because the recruiter hurt them, or
This
they're
is not
tired of recruiter. Right? I'm sorry, that they hurt them, or a recruiter,
true.
did something,
Mm-hmm.
unethical,
Mm-hmm. Sure. And that
or
happens.
whatever, and
Yeah,
it
of course.
happens all the
Of course.
time.
Yeah.
I would like. There's a club. It's a billionaires club that you have, and the way to get into the club is you have to have a net worth of so much
Okay.
money.
Yep.
You have to have lost it all and got it back.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You've had to have been indicted and come out the other side.
That I bet there are some stories there.
And there are some names that
Oh, I bet.
okay, right? That is a club, and it actually
Wow.
exists. It
I had
is
no
very
idea.
real. I know some members, and
That's
here's the
amazing.
thing, you know, and I'm sorry that recruiter hurt your feelings,
Yeah.
or someone just told you flat out, dude,
Mhm.
you're high, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you can't make that much money right now. Well, I'll
Yeah.
show you, and then 10 years later, they're making the money
Mhm.
that they wanted to
Mhm.
make 10 years ago,
Sure.
and somehow or another, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I totally do. I
As
totally do.
long as there are humans doing the job, you will
Mhm.
need
Mhm.
humans to
You
represent
will.
those people, or you will
Yeah.
need humans to hire them, or whatever.
Yeah. To
Humans
represent
are
the
going to be
company.
involved in it. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
100%.
And here's the other thing that recruiters don't understand, and part of me feels like there are some people that are over them that may not even love this. They may not. They
Yeah.
really don't like this. Is that before your marketing team,
Mhm.
before your product manager, before any of that, when you have a job that's open, your recruiter is the first person
Yeah.
that is representing your brand to the world.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
And
For sure.
recruiters aren't taught that. They're not taught, and that goes for agency recruiters too.
Yeah.
Again, you're pitching your client
Mhm.
that, and for some reason people aren't working full desks anymore. I don't understand why, but
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
isn't that
Somebody
kind of
explain
weird?
that. Yeah.
But in either case, you're representing your client
Yep.
and the company that you're working for.
Yep.
Your reputation is so important,
Yes.
and
It's
it's
all we
okay.
have.
It's all
That's
we
our
have.
currency. That's our currency in the market is
Be,
our reputation, our ability to shepherd people on both sides, shepherd people through the process. Like that is, and that's why, like, one of the reasons that I am as transparent as I am, first of all, I just think it's
Mhm.
good business, right? And I'm not good
Yeah,
at like keeping up with lies and misconceptions. So I'm just gonna like tell you like it is. That way I don't have to worry about it, right? Just to tell you the truth and then I don't have to
amazing,
remember. But
amazing
here's
how
the
that
reality,
works.
right? Isn't that crazy? What a concept. But here's the reality. I've had countless candidates. So you have my online persona, right? Amy Miller on YouTube and LinkedIn and whatever. Then you have Amy, the actual employee slash recruiter who brings people to this great organization. And I have had countless candidates through the offer process or through the interview process or once they join, whatever, and be like, you're just like you are online. I watched all your videos to prepare for this conversation with you, and you were exactly what I expected based on that. I'm like, of course. That's why I put
Yeah,
videos out there because I want you to listen to me because then my job is easier.
that's right. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And so when I totally get that. When I started doing those videos for my last company, people were not surprised
Yeah,
that, you are who you are,
exactly.
and it's
No
like,
other
well,
way to
what were
be.
you expecting?
Yep. No other
You
way to
know?
be. Yeah.
So let's real quick, let's go through, we keep talking about the basics, the basics, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
basics. Okay. Let's go through what the basics are.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So go number one.
Understand the problem we are solving with this open role.
Hmm.
It is not enough to just know, oh, you need a software engineer who knows how to write code in C# and they've done it at big companies. No, that's not enough. Understand, what are we solving for with this new hire? Oh, well, actually, this person is backfilling someone who left. Tell me more. And you start uncovering things. Not bad things necessarily. Sometimes they're bad things, sometimes they're good things. Well, yeah, we promoted like 3 people in the last quarter, and 2 guys went to a different team, and oh dang, there's lots of growth here. There's lots of, so you start unpacking that, right? And you start understanding like, oh, this is why this role exists, why it's important, what it's going to take to fill it. You've also just given yourself like 3 different talking points that are going to get a candidate excited about it. So that's basic number 1, like really understand at a foundational level, what are we solving for with this new position and what makes it great, or what are some of the challenges? Because there's going to be people who like a challenge. And that may be okay too. Like, hey, I'm going to be honest with you, this job sucks, but if you're really good at it, you're going to be a star. I've taken recruiting jobs like that.
Yeah.
So that's
I
number 1.
mean,
And the reason why I lead with that intentionally, Bradley, a lot of people think it should be all about the candidate first. There's no need for a candidate without an open position.
right. Yeah.
Starts with the job.
Hmm.
That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, I think it's important to understand how to map that problem to a potential persona. So I don't want to get too caught up in keyword matching. I don't want to get too caught up in like, what does good look like? Because we really lose an opportunity there to think about, how do we cast a broad enough net? How do we invite women or, non-traditional candidates, people who don't look like my existing team, right? We don't want to lose that. But we do want to map that need, that hiring need to, okay, what is kind of a baseline persona here? Okay, we know we need somebody that, maybe it's an in-office role. I know everybody hates that these days. Sorry. So we need somebody that will be happy to drive San Francisco or take the BART into San Francisco. We need somebody that loves to write code and can like really just heads down 80% of their time is churning out code. We need somebody that can communicate really well with the program managers because we're rolling out some new features, right? That's also something interesting. So do you want the person that can just keep a legacy system alive? Those roles exist. And that's important.
Absolutely.
Is that
Yeah.
the persona I want? I want the steady Eddie who's able to like keep that last pillar standing so the whole thing doesn't collapse, okay? Or do we want the person that is going to go build something that's never been built before and isn't afraid to fail fast and isn't afraid to? Both of those profiles are amazing profiles, but they're not right for the same role. So understanding that persona and getting that right, that's going to help your outreach and also your credibility with potential candidates. So that's the second thing. How do I turn this into a viable like understanding of what the right person for the role is? Once I have those 2 concepts down, now how do I thoroughly, confidently, and completely keep the communication open between the 2? How do I make sure everybody knows what's going on and everybody knows what the next step is and everybody knows what the expectations are? So that's also foundationally really important. Number 3, like being able to manage expectations on both sides. Now, the next level up from that, this is where we get into consulting. It's not enough to just say, hey, this is our process and this is what you're going to go through and here's how long you're going to wait and here's how long it's going to take and da 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 da. Influence on that process. If it's too bulky, if it's too many steps, if it takes too long, we need to be able to have the data to back that up. And we need to be able to consult hiring managers on, hey, You don't need to do 3 phone screens before an interview. That's wasting time. You're collecting the same data multiple times. That's redundancy. Candidate side. Hey, I know the thought leaders on LinkedIn are telling you anything more than 1 interview is too much, but here's why we're collecting data in the way that we are. And to be able to talk through it and explain like how it benefits you to have this or that process or make these tweaks, that's also really important. Like I had a boss at Microsoft that taught me this and I'll never forget it. Good consulting sometimes looks like bad customer service.
Most of the
need to be
time.
okay with that.
Yeah.
We need to be okay with that.
I think one of the things I would add to what you're saying is understanding who you're talking to. Meaning,
yes,
when you're talking to a hiring manager,
yeah,
and you put a set of skills in front of them,
yeah,
they could be great. They could be a great set of skills, but the chemistry is going to trump the skills every time.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they're going to say, well, I could teach the skills. I need to know I can work with this person.
Yeah.
So that's part of the matchmaking. And then going into being consultative. I love that. Sometimes being a good consultant means being very bad at customer service.
It does.
1,000%.
And
it's feeding them the broccoli.
Funny. This goes back to our opener around interview prep.
Yeah. Amazing.
If I'm not able to prepare both sides.
That's right.
For this conversation, right? Because we all go into a conversation with expectations.
Right.
I've heard about this company or I've seen that person's resume and I've already started building in my mind the responses I'm going to get, how I think the conversation is going to go. Like we start filling in those gaps. Humans are very good at filling in knowledge gaps with nonsense. We're very good at it.
Sure.
Well, I don't know for sure, and I have no factual data to back this up, but I feel like this is what happened. And so therefore that now becomes my truth. And we have to really carefully coach people to not do that. Keep your mind open. Here's the questions we're going to ask. Here's the data we want to collect. Here's the purpose of the interview process so that we can learn these specific things. And yes, to chemistry and yes, to like understanding how the pieces fit together and can I work with this person and will we, get along and whatever. Those are all important things, but also like in a way that is grounded in data. Right? It can't be, well, I like that person and I know I could work with them because we both went to Stanford and we both love pickleball. How does that solve the problem we talked about, Mr. Hiring Manager? Right? So that's lovely. I'm glad y'all like each other. But let's go back to the basics, right? Go back to that foundational, and by the way, remember we talked about you need somebody to keep that one last piece alive so the whole system doesn't collapse. This is why this person can do it. And the same on the candidate side, right? Especially when it comes to interviews and collecting feedback and next steps and all that, people get really upset. I've never had someone mad at me for a lengthy interview process if they knew the interview process was lengthy. See? It's that upfront communication. By the way, here's how long this is going to take. By the way, we have X number of touch points. Here's the why. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's fine. No one complains about it. People complain because you're coming at them at the 11th hour. Oh, just one more. I know I didn't tell you that, but just one more. Oh, well, actually now just one more. That's what drives people nuts.
And you have to be enough of an expert and have the ear of either your client or, your whatever manager, VP you're supporting to have a real conversation with them about why they're doing this. Why are you having one more opinion that you know what it's going to be?
Yeah.
How much consensus are we going to need to cover your behind?
And if you're digging in, in that early conversation where we're unpacking what problem are we trying to solve? Why does this role exist? What do you need? What does good look like? When we're unpacking that, we're now turning that into an interview process.
That's right.
So, okay. So you've told me, here's what we're trying to solve for. Here's the expertise somebody needs to bring to us. How are we going to find that out? Okay, great. So we're going to ask these questions and we're going to have those subject matter experts involved in the discussion. Okay, great. And so you create this model of an interview process that is touching on those important points. And that way, when the manager comes back after the, 5 rounds of interviews or whatever it is and says, oh, I need him to talk to one more person. Oh, because here's a list of all the things we covered and all the things you said were important. And here's where we've addressed every single one of those things. Oh, and here's a little extra credit. So you're missing what now?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Never mind. Sorry, Amy. Make the offer.
So good. I am telling you, if people just implemented what you just talked about, they will turn their entire careers around. I think
so.
It will also expose what they're not doing.
Yeah.
And, make your decision. Do you want to stay in this business or not?
And it's okay if TA is not for you. Like, that's the thing. And it breaks my heart a little bit because we did train so many new recruiters in the last few years when the market was really hot, right? And I don't want to gatekeep this industry from anybody. One of the things I both equally love and hate about recruiting is the absolutely low bar to entry.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. That has not been my experience. I'm like, there's the low bar to entry.
Yeah.
And I have seen it.
Yeah.
And people will get a job and I'm like shocked. Yeah. I'm like, how? Like, I had to go through, a litany of, I had to really walk through the gauntlet.
We had to earn it.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And how did you get this job? Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? I think for some folks, the low bar to entry isn't their experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think people are getting in too high. Like, the barrier to entry is low, right? Like, most of us started in staffing making $12 an hour and with the promise of like maybe a bit of commission. And I'm not saying I want anyone to be underpaid. That's not what I'm getting at here. But entry level is entry level for a reason, right? And so I think it's absolutely okay to be an entry level recruiter, and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we all start somewhere. Here's where it goes awry. You have people who were overpromised something way bigger than what they're capable of during the boom time in TA. I saw it. You saw it. We all saw it. Mm-hmm. You also then have managers and senior TA folks, including myself, I bear responsibility here too, who are not taking the time to mentor and develop those new recruiters. And that's the key. And whenever somebody asks me, well, what's wrong with TA? Managers.
Yeah.
Recruiting managers need to own this, need to get ahead of it. And senior TA folks, I'm an individual contributor myself, but I am also somebody who has tons of experience and wisdom around this. I have to train my colleagues. I have to upskill. I have to mentor. I have to do all the things. But there's 3 parts to this. There's the recruiting manager holding their teams accountable for learning and growing and developing and recognizing their weak areas and seeking to improve them. There's the trainers, the mentors, the leaders, the people like me who have the wisdom and who have the experience and are willing to share. We need to share. We need to not gatekeep that stuff, which is why we're talking, why we talk every day on LinkedIn, why we do all the things, videos, all the things. But there's also that junior recruiter who needs to be willing to learn.
Right.
You lose one of those legs of the stool falls over. All 3 are critical.
So true. That is so true. Amy, stick right there. I want us to do final thoughts.
Okay.
And wow. And the only reason I'm doing it now is I just want to be respectful of your time, but you're going to have to come back.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have to have this discussion. And you know what? I think, really. Because until it's something that we don't have to talk about, we're going to have to talk about it. So stay right there. We're going to come back with final thoughts. We will be right back. are right back with final thoughts. And I don't know about you guys, but I have thoroughly loved this show. So needed. And, it's not being talked about enough. Amy, you are amazing. And you know what? It's been worth the wait. But now that you've done the show, we can't wait very much longer. You got to come back, and you have
Absolutely.
an absolutely open invitation. But we'll book you in the next month or
Love
two
it. Let's do it.
to come back. All right.
Absolutely.
I am going to not say anything or try not to, and I just give people, takeaways and your final thoughts about this, because you're an SME. They need to hear from you. So the floor is yours.
All right. One thing. If I could wave, hold on, where is it?
Do you have your wand?
Oh, I have my wand. If I could wave my magic wand.
Yeah.
And leave both recruiters and job seekers with my most important final thought. We all want the same thing. And that so often gets lost. Recruiters are viewed as these emotionless, useless, robotic, gatekeepers that are standing between you and opportunity, a job seeker and opportunity. And a lot of recruiters, we eat our own like nobody's business, Bradley. I know you've seen it. You've got agency recruiters looking down their noses at corporate recruiters. Corporate recruiters are looking down their noses at agency recruiters. And I'm just like, I love all of y'all. I think you're all good. Well, not you, but
I'm the same way. I'm the exact same way. Yeah.
Great recruiters are great recruiters. I don't care who's signing your paycheck, right? Like some of my best friends are agency recruiters and I love them. And they're the ones I call when I need extra help. But anyway, my point there, my final thought, we all want the same thing. Yeah. We all want to be successful in our careers. That's all job seekers want. They just want an opportunity to, land the next gig or successfully pass an interview or whatever. Agency recruiters want to make placement because that's what good looks like. Get those commissions, make those placements. I need to build teams. Like just because I happen to be in the house and on commission, if I ever stop hiring, I'm in trouble. So if we're all working for that same goal, why don't we work together? Share insight, share feedback, address us in a human way, right? Like I promise you, I don't care what side of it you're on. If your LinkedIn content is leading with negative finger pointy, I'm just going to scroll on. I'm not the person for you. Don't watch my videos. They're not for you. But if you're someone who's genuinely looking for a way to improve and gain, the right experience, get the next step, get to the next place in your career, get the next placement, get the next gig, get the next candidate, get the next client, I'm with you. And I will do everything I can to support you because we have to build each other up. We have to support each other. We have to mentor each other and we have to just love each other.
And you know what? And, we all know that sometimes love does not mean to co-sign.
That's right.
Love wants you to do better. Love wants you to do great. Love wants you to be the best version of yourself, or love wants you to go on these explorations and to be that person that we see you being. So just because we're telling you you're doing it wrong, it doesn't mean we don't love you. We're telling you that because we do love you.
And we want you to do better.
We want you to do better. We want you to do better. We want you to do better than we ever did.
Yes.
And and guess what? If I didn't love you, I'd tell you you're doing a great job.
And I'd let you be, and I'd let you fail.
Let you go, because you know what? You're the best marketing that I ever had was people that were terrible at this business. So I just tell you, Amy, you are incredible. You are amazing. You are the voice that we need. Thank you so much. Again, we're going to be booking you again for part 2 of this.
Perfect.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to put part 1
Yeah.
like in the
Let's
description
do
of
it.
this, because we're going to have a
With a
part 2.
follow-up.
You're just incredible. And
Thank you.
from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming on.
I
And
appreciate the opportunity. I really do. I'm a huge fan, and now we're besties. So look at
I
us.
know, right? I know. Guys, if you're not following Amy, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go on to LinkedIn, follow Amy Miller. She will be the first name that pops up, I guarantee you. And then go on to, so I'm going to have all of the places that you want people to connect with you
Awesome.
in the description. But I got to tell you, again, just I can't thank you enough. So, but for everybody watching, know this: that for everybody at Work Your Career Wednesday, White Husky Films, Jane's Physical Therapy, Klein's Jewelry, and all of our other sponsors, thank you so much. And I will say for Amy Miller that we love you and God bless you. And let his face shine upon you and give you great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other. And keep on keeping on. All right. We'll talk soon and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye, guys.